So what do you do? What's the thing that you can do right now to lose weight fast or to cut fat fast? We've got the military style fanny pack going. I got my sweatshirt going for our walk. It's pretty simple. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't make things more complicated than it has to seem. HIIT training works. Okay, high intensity interval training works. But if you don't want to do that, because some people don't want to do that, what you can do is simply start walking. Walking can do wonders. It will help you lose weight if you start tracking your steps. All you have to do is start tracking your steps. So you can get a pedometer or an Apple Watch and have a goal of, reaching for 20,000 steps or, 30,000 steps or what have you. And you typically are going to lose weight decently fast. If you do that with like a keto style of dieting or like a keto style of nutrition, typically you're gonna drop relatively easy. Another thing that you can look into is, the world of peptides is growing, increasing in popularity. So peptides self-inject, and usually you inject it subcutaneously. What that means is you inject it at a lateral angle, so not intramuscularly. Like intramuscular is directly into the muscle, sub-Q is into the fat essentially. And usually you're going to use an insulin needle, so it's really small, so you won't really feel any pain. The bigger the needle, the harder the, I guess more pain you may. And peptides there's different types of peptides. There's like semaglutide, there's retatrutide. So it has a good success rate, it seems. The only issue that I have with it is that I think that people may rely on it and they may think that it's the solution to their problems. And it's not a solution to your problems because, again, it doesn't work unless you work. So you still have to, do some sort of physical activity. Walking, I think he was just walking. He didn't really do much like strength training for him. So that's something else you can look into. If you are a male, you can also look into hormone replacement therapy, because the problem with a lot of these food, processed foods, is that it's, decreasing your testosterone as a man. So, and if you used marijuana in the past, there's a high chance that it messed with your hormones, your testosterone levels. And so that can also affect your ability to lose weight and gain muscle mass. People may have their contention with that, but I know for a fact that the testosterone is affected in some way from the marijuana. So one thing you can do to reverse that is first stop marijuana. It's number one. And then number two, get your testosterone levels checked. Specifically your free testosterone, you want to check that. And then also check your thyroid levels. If your thyroid is relatively low, then it could be that may be why you are having trouble losing weight. So you can look into possibly like a thyroid therapy, perhaps looking into like a T4, T3. You can get it from, technically you can get it through the black market. You can get it through your doctor if you want to, be safe. That is an option too, and that, can help if you are low in that. And how to lose weight fast is you can actually just use the sauna. If you are having an event, technically you can lose weight in the sauna. The problem with that is that it's all water weight. It's not, fat tissue. So if you genuinely want to see change, then it's wise to, rely on nutrition and working out. A couple other tips to look into is if you are, trying to, lose weight, is consider fasting. So fasting, for example, let's say you go to bed at 10 p.m. tonight and you wake up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. You're going to fast from the moment you wake up, which is 8 a.m. until, let's say, 12 p.m. and then you'll have an eating window from 12 to 10 p.m. So you have a relatively 10 hours of eating that you give yourself. And the theory behind that is that you are reducing the time to eat, and thus the chances of you eating more or less, because it's time to eat essentially. And so you're shoving a lot of calories in a shorter amount of time, and so you will start to think that you're eating a lot when you're not, right? Mind that nothing works unless you work. So you have to be consistent. So if you're going to use, let's say for example, peptides, then you're going to want to be consistent with using that so that you can see whether or not you are seeing a change. If you are going to use peptides and then you decide to not use it anymore all of a sudden, then you won't truly know if it worked or not for you. So it's really very, very, very important. And when it comes to fitness and kinesiology and like exercise science, that you want to be very consistent with your protocols and with your data essentially, because the data may conflict if you are inconsistent. So you need to be consistent so that you know what worked and what did not work. And that gets into tracking, right? You have to be mindful. You don't have to be like a scientist or be like a data nerd, but you do have to have some sort of idea of what you were doing consistently over a period of time so that you can look at it from the third eye view or the bird's eye view and see, okay, did this work? Yes or no, right? It's very, very important. All right, another tip on how to lose weight fast is to start doing more compound exercises. So compound exercises are things like squatting and deadlifting and any sort of pressing motion. You can press in horizontal and in vertical. So horizontal is horizontal, vertical, right? So overhead press as an example. Horizontal would be like a bench press, or it can be a push-up. It can be a sled push. It can be like pushing a person or what have you. In the military, for example, they do a lot of compound exercises. That's why if you go to the military, you're typically going to lose a lot of weight in addition to all the running and all of the, essentially the stress that you're put under, right? They train you purposefully for stress. So, that's kind of something how I look at things is like, military really, this is one of the reasons I really like the military, is that it really teaches you life lessons that you can carry for the rest of your life. So if you are somebody that, you need that discipline, to be taught how to be disciplined, military will really teach you that, and it will change you essentially, right? Unless you're stubborn. But more of the story is doing compound exercises. So including things like, maybe if you don't want to use a barbell, then you can start using dumbbells, using dumbbells to squat with, using dumbbells to deadlift with. I would recommend a barbell because that's going to make it relatively harder, because it's going to challenge your stability. Dumbbells can too, but I find that barbell is just easier to kind of track because you can just simply load the weight, whereas dumbbells, you have to go get more dumbbells if you're going to get stronger. Not if, but when you get stronger over time. So it just kind of makes things more complicated than it has to be. Fast is, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't make your life harder than it already is. People seem to want to reinvent the wheel. They want to say, oh, well, I did Orange Theory, and then I did F45, and then I did a military boot camp, and then I did working with a personal trainer, and they don't see any results. Again, you have to be consistent. So if you're going to do a marathon, you need to stick to that. If you're going to do Orange Theory, stick to that. If you're going to swim, stick to that over a course of time and see if it worked for you. You can lose weight just by swimming. Swimming is a really great exercise, full body exercise that actually blends, it marries strength and endurance. So one of the reasons why they have it in special operations is because, not only because they need it essentially, but because it is a physically demanding exercise in addition to rowing. But yeah, those are a couple tips on how to lose weight fast. And always remember that nothing will work unless you work. So if you are a negative Nancy, and if you feed yourself junk, Anything that you feed your gut and your stomach is what will manifest in your mind. If you feed your stomach, your gut, poor food and low micronutrient dense foods, it's going to affect your brain. And what happens when that affects your brain? If it affects your brain, it's going to affect your thoughts. If it affects your thoughts, it's going to affect your manifestations. Because the thing with losing weight is that it's actually a lot of mindset. So some people don't think that, oh, I can't just verbally say, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds and boom, tomorrow you can lose 10 pounds. Well, you would be surprised that your words change your life. So you need to start using your words carefully and saying things with intention and with a purpose that this is exactly what I'm going to get or what I have and who I am. If you don't think you are, 140 pounds, but you are technically 200 pounds, then you will never be 140 pounds. In order to be 140 pounds, if you are currently 200 pounds, you need to start thinking like your 140 pound self before you become 140 pounds. In order to achieve what you want, you need to become that before you actually become that. That is the science behind manifestation, is that in order to become who you want to become, you need to become that person before you physically become that person, right? If you can see it and feel it up here, then you can make it come true.